Hi, it's DaVo. Welcome to vlog number 9. It's my 9th one. My weekly vlog, because daily would be far too much work. I can't imagine doing this every single day and trying to do that. It would be a full-time job. Be crazy full-time job. Anyway, fall seems to finally hit us. I'm here at the Skin Kitchen Tattoo, the home of the Axiom, the place where I pierce the bodies, inside the lovely historic Plaza Lanes building on Des Moines, near North Side. I'm going to kind of go down a rabbit hole today. I usually try to stay as far away from politics or anything I consider political in any way, shape, or form. Because I've always believed anything that you put out there on the internet is automatically is like shouting in a crowded room. But after what happened Sunday, I just can't help myself. Now, first and foremost, to anybody that was affected, victims, family victims, people that were there, my thoughts, my prayers go out to you. I think the whole nation feels that way. We are 100% behind you. And we're going to try to help in any way, shape, or form we can. No one should ever have to go through that. A lot of people seem obsessed on two things. The first thing being his motivation. I don't think we'll ever know his motivation. It's easy to think, hey, it's terrorism. You know, ISIS. There's a part of me that almost thinks it's that. Because at least, as crazy as that ideal is, at least there's something behind it that makes a little bit of sense. But I have a feeling it's, we probably will never know what his true motivation was or what was going through his mind when he decided to do that. And I think he is pretty much just another lone gunman. And America has a long history of people that are like this. They are the minority, the extreme minority of the human race. Most of us could not think of doing that. It would be unimaginable to create that much carnage and destroy that many lives. What I do want to talk about, because I'd like to open a conversation. If you'd like to make comments, you don't like what I'm saying, comment. Let's talk about it. One of the things that will get people more emotional than they need to be is gun control. And I was very angry when our lovely Speaker of the House today said that it was inappropriate for us to talk about that at this time, that it wasn't the right time. Well, I don't know when the right time would be than after something this horrific happens, to kind of address why it happened, how it happened, and what we can do to make sure it doesn't happen again. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I'll do some fun stuff later. I got some live footage from, who did I get this week? Rumble C Riot, Matthew James and the Rust Belt Union, and St. Christopher. But we'll get to that towards the end. The reason why I think it's always important to talk about things like this is because we can change it. There is this idea that it's such a massive problem that we can't change it. The thing is we need to get people to the table and talk about it. And that starts with you, your friends, your relatives, having a civil conversation about what we can do to make sure this doesn't happen again, or at least limit the possibility. Even if it's just a little bit, we're going to move towards a great, better thing. Personally, my politics are kind of a little bit from moderate to liberal. Kind of sways a little bit this way and that way, depending on the issue. Some people would call me, a liberal. Other people would probably think I'm a bit conservative. I am an American. I'm a patriot. I believe that this country has the potential of becoming the greatest country on earth. I don't think it is. Sorry. But I always believe that it has that potential to get better. And that's why I'm talking about this thing. Because we have a potential to take a tragic event and make it into something that will make this a better place to live. Or at least a little safer. First off, and I need to get over this, I do believe in the Second Amendment, just like I believe in a majority of what's in the Constitution. I believe that, you should have the right to bear arms. You should have the right to own a weapon if you wish. Personally, because of a couple of events that happened in my life, I've never owned a handgun. I did have a shotgun as a child when went hunting with my father. I have fired guns. I understand the draw to them because it's fun to shoot them. Personally, I've really never seen the point of me having one in my life. There's so many different viewpoints of why people own guns and so forth. Personally, for me, one main thing that happened was I had a cousin who accidentally shot himself, died from it. I had a friend who had a severe anger control issues, was 18 at the time, and only turned 18 about 2-3 months before that. And he had an illegally modified shotgun, as in sawed off. He's always said that his intention was to scare the individual, but he fired that shotgun from a moving car. One of the pellets ricocheted off the ground, off the pavement, into the car, hit the guy in the back of the head, killed him instantly. And he's been in prison ever since and will probably never get out. So those two things kind of they caused an effect on me. I really didn't see a point of having a handgun or even a shotgun. Sorry about that. The phone was ringing. The best part about it is that's the second recorded message telemarketing thing I've had today. Now, if you really want to do something about it, let's outlaw those things. Anyway, back to the subject. So those two things really have caused me to say I have absolutely no reason to own a gun. So I don't. However, I have lots of friends that are gun enthusiasts. A lot of them own multiple guns, handguns, rifles, assault rifles, etc. And I understand their passion about it. However, I also know them as responsible people, know how to maintain their guns properly, understand gun safety, and how to shoot them properly. So those things always make me a little bit more giving, open to the discussion about it. There's a misconception about the Second Amendment that I think gets brought up occasionally, and people always try to explain it. It's simple. The people that wrote that had first off and foremost had gone through a revolutionary war in which they overthrew the most powerful military in the world at the time. One of the reasons why they were capable of doing this was it was very easy for them to quickly raise militias because people own guns. Because they were frontiers people, they had guns, they needed them for their livelihoods, to protect themselves, partly, but also to maintain their living standards by going out and hunting for food. Unlike Europe, especially England, where the only people that were allowed to own any type of gun were those in the military and those that owned land. Which I'm sure, when you start to think about that, is a very limited number versus the major population. So to allow for a revolution like the one we had in the United States to happen in Europe would be a great deal more difficult, unless you could get the military on your side. They also believed that at any time the citizens had the right to overthrow the government if the government was a tyrant. And we'll try this again. So, They were concerned after they had gotten out from under the thumb of one tyrant that somehow, no matter how well they set up the government, there was a possibility that that would happen again. And they believed that the American citizen should have the right to own a gun, form militias, and overthrow that government if need be. There are still people here in the United States that believe that that should happen every day. We won't go into that because that's fantasy land, in my opinion. And that'll probably make somebody angry, but no, not needed. Sure, I'd like to see a lot of things change. Toppling the government through armed insurrection, not one of them. In fact, I think it would be very detrimental to a majority of the population if that ever happened. Got to think things through, cause and effect. So, the other thing that they didn't consider was the killing power and the efficiency of modern weapons. When you think about this, during that period of time when that law, when the Constitution was passed and rectified, and et cetera, you could do, I think, the most high-tech weapon at the time, if memory serves correct, and I could be wrong, and please let me know if I am, was single-shot muskets. They may have had shotguns at that point that maybe were double-barrel, but I think everything was pretty single-shot. So you don't have that level or that ability for an individual to create the amount of mass destruction that that guy did in Vegas, and I refuse to use his name. But now you do. In that period of time, the closest thing you could have done was maybe hauled a cannon up there and shot into the crowd. That would probably be the most equivalent to possibly creating that much carnage. So those are things. Think about those. We have a history in the United States of passing laws to restrict certain types of weapons, or make them, and not so much to restrict them, but ownership of them, but to make it much easier or much harder for people to get a hold of them. In the 20s and the 30s, and I think a lot of people don't know this, but one of the reasons why we had such a huge crime wave during that period of time. Sorry about that interruption, client. That happens here. This is where I do the piercings of the body. Always remember. Anyway, so when we have restricted gun control, made it harder for people to buy things. Oh, I know what I was talking about. Most people don't understand that up until 1920s, you could buy fully automatic, high caliber, military grade machine guns through the mail. Sears and Roebuck catalog would sell it directly to you. Or you could go to your local hardware store and purchase it. In the 20s, they restricted what could be sent through the mail. In the 30s, they made it harder for you to buy automatic weapons and other restricted weapons. The weapons they targeted were weapons that were being used by criminals. There was an epidemic of gangster-type activity, massive killings, crime sprees, Bonnie and Clyde, Pretty Boy Floyd, the outfit in Chicago, Valentine's Day Massacre. All of these things were attributed to two major weapons, and that was three, actually. The sawed-off shotgun, because it was easy to conceal and very, very powerful. Basically a pistol. The BAR, or BAR, Browning Automatic Rifle, and the Thompson machine gun. The 1921, if I remember correctly. Been a while since I thought about this. They did away with them. They didn't do away with them, I shouldn't say that. They made it harder for you to get it. Basically, it would cost you, as I understand this, and I'm not an expert, $200, and you had to go through a process of applying for a special permit to own it. Yes, it's restricting your ability to buy it, but it's not saying you can't buy it. And then in the 60s, when there was an issue with small, cheap revolvers called a .38 Special, they passed additional laws. Once again, trying to target the weapons that criminals were using. So, the Brady Law, once again, targeting people, criminals. The ban on assault rifles, targeting criminals. Here we come to this period of time where a majority of the especially the assault rifle and military grade ammunition, etc., is very efficient. As we saw, horribly. And as if anybody ever watches any footage of the two wars we've still got going on 15 years later, or have talked to anybody that's been in battle, there is really no reason that you need something that powerful, in my opinion. If you're an enthusiast and you like shooting them, you go out and you do sports type stuff, you go to the shooting range, I understand that. That's cool. For protection of your home, you'd probably be better off with a shotgun or a hand pistol. Or a handgun. Pistol. Or pistol. I guess they're two separate. Well, no, anyway. So here it comes down to this. I think a lot of us were shocked that there was automatic fire coming from there. But it didn't really sound right to anyone, including myself, and I'm not an expert. It just, the pattern of the shots didn't sound right. Maybe it's because I played Call of Duty too much. It just seemed odd. And then they talked about his background, and I automatically assumed, well, okay, he's like most mass shooters. He's probably got some type of military background of some sort. He's probably knows how to modify that gun to do what it's doing. What shocked me is, from what the information that has come out, he was using a bump stock, something I didn't even know existed prior to this. And after a quick search on YouTube and various other places, I found a lot of information about them. They're very inexpensive, ranging in price from $50 up to about $300. And they do mimic automatic fire. Because basically, they don't seem to want to explain this on YouTube, or not on YouTube, but on major networks, so maybe I will, is basically it's a solid piece set against another piece that bounces back and forth with a rod piece of plastic, I'm guessing, coming up that sits next to the trigger. So every time that gun recoils, it fires again. So basically, as long as your hand is pressed against that trigger, it'll just keep firing. I don't know what it is, but to me, that should have been an automatic weapon. It should have been banned. They shouldn't have been allowed to sell them in the freaking first place. But it does go back to that American ingenuity. Well, if somebody tells you you can't have something, well, I'm going to find a way around that in a loophole in the law and produce something that allows you to have it. And I'm guessing a majority of them they've sold out there did not have the intent of doing what this guy did. But in the back of their mind for 5 seconds, they shouldn't have thought, hey, what if somebody uses this in this instance? Maybe it's not a good idea to have this out there. Maybe this is too much power to give to one individual. Maybe they should go through some background check. Maybe they should have to pay that additional fee for automatic weapons, etc. However, they went on sale for a long period of time, and this is the first time I think they've been using something like this. There's also another version, which is like a crank handle that basically sits in there with a caliper that just, you crank the handle and it shoots. Both of these will produce up to 300 to 600 rounds per minute. So here's the thing I think that we all need to look at. First off, I don't think we'll ever stop this type of violence ever happening. Even if we outlawed guns tomorrow and forced everybody to turn them in, there would still be criminals out there. There would still be people that are unwilling to give up those firearms. They're going to hide them somewhere. They're going to do everything they can to hold on to them. And they will keep resurfacing. I don't think the answer is to ban assault rifles. I think the same thing would happen, or they would go through illegal means to find them. However, aftermarket products like bump stocks, that should have been taken care of a long time ago. Also, this crank thing. Another thing I've always brought up with gun owners and people that I know that are very pro-gun, and something I think that everybody should sit down and seriously consider this and talk about this, is we never know what the intention of the person is that's purchasing that weapon or what have you, what they're going to do with it. They can pass all the background checks. There's no way to perfectly align exactly what their motivation is. However, when somebody buys a massive amount of rounds of ammunition, who isn't a known gun enthusiast, that isn't on the circuit for shooting, or doesn't own a rifle range, or it should put up some type of red flag. I know a lot of you are going to go, well, I need them stocks because I need to worry about them government coming and taking away my rights. No one is ever going to do that unless you do something illegal. Not saying that it's not possible to get accused of something you didn't do and all that stuff, but having a massive amount of ammunition and a bunch of guns is probably going to end in one thing. If you resist, you're going to end up dead. Well, I think this might be the most edited video I've done thus far. One of the disadvantages of trying to do this recording at the shop is that I get interrupted. The phone rings, people come in. Some of the ones I've done in the past I've tried to do before I get to the shop. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't, because sometimes I don't finish them in time. Anyway, so I figured I'd finish this at home, where it's quiet. It's raining. It's way, way too early in the morning. Basically, the other thing that I thought, back to this whole gun control issue, there we go. Had to clean my cheaters. I don't know how you would track somebody like him who purchased all that stuff over a long period of time. I don't know what the answer is, other than registering all of the firearms and all of the ammunition. But it's something to consider. Other thing is, and I've talked to a lot of responsible gun owners about this, and I don't understand why this isn't a thing. If you decide you're going to drive a car, you have to go through a written test and sometimes an operating test, usually the first time. Same thing if you want to ride a motorcycle. We have set up this licensing idea that you have to intelligently prove that you have the responsibility, the ability, and the knowledge to operate the vehicle. And then you have to prove that you are capable of doing it. I don't understand why we've never had this for guns. Basically, and I'm not talking, make people take like a 10-day course or whatever, but even the concealed permits in some states, including Iowa, doesn't even involve firing a weapon. You basically go in, you go through the class, safety, etc., then you take a test. And then you get this certificate that allows you to carry a concealed weapon. I don't understand why we don't have like a 2-day course or maybe a 1-day course where you go in, you learn about gun safety, and then you go to a range, you shoot the weapon, supervise where someone could properly teach you how to or give you hints and improve your abilities and do it safely. Seems like a pretty simple thing, and I've never understood why they never, it never seems to have ever came up. I know in like some states in the South, in areas that were very farm ran, where hunting was just part of the lifestyle, you were required to take these classes at some point, I believe in junior high and in some cases elementary school. We do have a history of this. I think there is people out there that would embrace this and enjoy doing this. People that are experts in firearms. Uh, like anybody who's a good person, they like to share their knowledge. So I don't think it would be hard to fund or hard to do. Plus, you got to pay a fee to be licensed, so should pretty much take care of itself. Um, those two things I think would not maybe necessarily end the possibility of something like this happening because this is a rare occurrence. It may seem like it's consistently happening more, but when you really think about the amount of gun owners we have in the United States versus the amount of people that commit crimes with weapons and the amount of people that actually go out and do horrific things like this, it's a really, really, really minute part of that gun ownership group. It's very small. I'm not sure exactly what the statistics are anymore about how many households own handguns, but I'm guessing that it's up there a little bit. They have at least a shotgun, hunting, sporting rifle, something. So if you consider that versus the amount of people that go out and do things like this idiot did, um, kind of makes you know that this is not the norm. And one of the things I always have a problem with in American politics is we tend to, when we get very emotional about a situation, we run out and do the most extreme thing we possibly can be. And we create laws that don't work because they're so far this way or they're so far that way that they just don't simply hit that middle spot, that sweet spot where things work. Um, and like I said, I hope this brings up some discussion. Make some comments in the bottom, especially if I made some errors, because I'd like to be corrected and know my things. um, so just to retouch, ban aftermarket products. This is what I'm suggesting. Ban any product that creates a situation where it mimics automatic aftermarket automatic or parts aftermarket parts that simulate automatic weapon fire. I think that should be a given, should have been an axiom, should have been known from the beginning. I personally would say to the families that have been traumatized by this event, contact your lawyer and sue these people and put them out of business. If the government's not going to do it, that's your recourse. Second thing, I do believe that education is the answer to 90% of society's problems. And I believe requiring people to go through some type of test to license themselves and actually getting hands on with firearms to show that they can safely handle them is not a bad idea. And I think it's something that I would think the American Rifle Association or the National Rifle Association should be fully about, because isn't one part of their platform education? Anyway, enough about this. I promised you music, didn't I? Okay, well, here's what I got. Right now, here is Matthew James and the Rust Belt Union. Matthew James is from Detroit originally. He's a transplant and now a Des Moinesian. A friend. The band, great guys. The bass player is also in the next band that's coming up. He moved out here for Rumble See Riot, and he started this as a side project, his solo thing, and it's kind of grown from there. I don't know how I describe it, because it's outlaw country, but it's got kind of a little bit more of a modern edge to it. Maybe a little bit of punk rock in there, a little bit of more edgy side of it. Anyway, here's Matthew James and the Rust Belt Union. Enjoy.
Robert!
Hey, we put a record out on Some Punk Records. You can buy it tonight. It's back there. This man's not a barber. You know I'm cutting your hair.
Yeah, cut it!
We will. You pay us just about do anything. Hey. Alright. My name is Matt James, this is the Rust Belt Union.
was Matthew James and the Rust Belt Union. Next up, some good old-fashioned rockabilly here from Des Moines, Iowa. They played, I don't know how long they've been around. It seems like it's been at least a decade. They have been taking kind of a hiatus. I don't know exactly what the future of the band is. I think this is the first time they played out in over a year, maybe even a year and a half. Great band, great guys. Used to be in a band, actually, if you hadn't noticed. Greg plays drums in Rust Belt, and he also plays drums in this. He used to play in the Have-Nots years ago with me. Anyway, here it is. Rumble See Riot.
We planned it that way.
Man, I got my adrenaline going. I haven't been on stage in a year and a half, man. Thank you guys all for showing up tonight. Woo. We're gonna all get through this together.
Boys who steal hubcaps and gasoline may become young men who dismantle entire automobiles or rob banks or enter the racket.
Let's go!
Always trouble, get home too late. My dad tells me, son, you better head on straight. Said, don't give me no sassy brothers.
That was some rockabilly for you cats and kittens. I love making those jokes. Anyway, next up, St. Christopher Webster. I've seen St. Christopher before. He does a stripped down version of this. This is the first time I've seen him as a full band, and I have to say, all of you people that left after Rumble Seat played, you missed out. This is the best I've seen them. They were something to behold. If they come back in this format again, which I hopefully will be able to get them back at some point, or Lefty as well, even if they're playing somewhere else, go see them. There is something going on here, and hopefully he'll be expanding on the sound even further. Here they are, St. Christopher. St. Christopher. That's the end of the vlog. The longest most edited vlog I think I've done so far. Anyway, and it even has 2 locations in it. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe by clicking up here. If you'd like to see more of my vlogs, click down here. If you would like to see more of the live music, click the Live at Lefties. And if you'd like to know more about me, click the link to my website. Other than that, everybody have a good day. Go out and have some fun already.